Okay, here we are. Hello. So if you are watching this on replay, welcome. I am really excited today because I get a chance to talk to a lady I admire so much. She's been around in my community for quite a while, introduced by a mutual friend many years ago. And that is the very lovely Jennifer Main. So, hello, Jennifer.
Thanks for having me. No, I'm grateful to be here. Thank you.
Oh, it's an honor to have you here. So,
Oh, thank you.
yeah. So, excuse me. Sorry, I'm still got this little tickle in my throat.
Sure.
Um, I wanted to talk to you about you've got some stuff going on, in your world and your work, and a lot of the work that you do is around intuition.
Mhm.
Um, so as we were just chatting just before we hit record about how we kind of like sort of tune into our own intuition, what it is and what it isn't, so that's and I think just an opportunity to have a conversation about our own experiences and how it's felt for me coming into this sort of world and how it's been for you, because it'll be, I know from knowing you that your experiences are certainly different from mine. So can we start just a little bit? Tell people, if they don't know you, just what you do first of all, and where, and we've got links for where you can find Jennifer afterwards. But what is it that you're actually doing in terms of work these days? Mm.
Yeah, so I mean, I would say I'm naturally, innately a healer and a teacher. That's kind of those are the threads and themes that have moved throughout my life. And also very highly sensitive and highly intuitive. And that has been since I was a child. And as a child, I didn't understand it. I didn't have the language for it. Nobody around me was talking about intuition and, tuning into the things that we don't necessarily see or hear or feel in a physical sense. And so it wasn't until I started, taking courses as an adult. Actually, I was trying to figure out how to heal my migraines,
Okay, yeah.
which I then realized was actually an intuitive issue because I was working very hard to close down my third eye on an unconscious level. I didn't know I was doing it consciously. I didn't know that's
Makes
what was
sense.
happening. And I've since learned that, yeah, that third eye stuff and migraines tend to be about trying to control things. And so I was working very hard to dull the noise and the information and all of that stuff. And then I started to, take some courses around energy work and understanding kind of the mind and the body connection, and learned so much about myself, and really was then able to put language to the fact that I was just so psychic and intuitive. And I will say I use those words interchangeably. I know some people don't
Mhm.
like the word psychic because it can be a bit loaded. So just ignore it if you don't like that word. I'll lean into intuition, but yeah, but so that's and because that's been it's one of those things, we've been talking about astrology before, and for anyone who understands Chiron, the Chiron wound, the idea with Chiron is that if you understand your deepest wounds, they become your greatest gifts. But you have to work through them and process them and understand them first.
Mhm.
And some of my deepest wounds came from not from being intuitive, but from fighting against it, from not understanding it, from fighting myself, really,
Mhm.
and trying to kind of dull it down, shut it down, just because I felt overwhelmed by so much of it. Again, most of this was unconscious. I didn't know it was going on for such a long time. And so now that I've kind of worked through that and understand that obviously my intuition is my superpower, it's what in my sensitivity is part of that superpower. It's what makes me so good at what I do. Then it just has become this natural thing. I think I still kind of fought it for a few years and was like, oh, I don't want to just come out and tell people I work with intuition or things like that. And
Yeah.
now I've just got to the point where I'm like, you know what, that's what I do. So for a lot of people, it's helping them understand. It's kind of rewriting the narrative around it, because we think that only certain people are intuitive, or you only
Mhm.
do it when you're meditating or on the yoga mat or at a retreat.
Mhm.
Or yeah, we think it's dependent upon time and space and all these things. And it's actually realizing that if you have a nervous system, you're intuitive because you're tuning in to things beyond what your physical senses take in. And it's really learning how to use it as your own inner compass, because we often want to go to other people. We want somebody else to tell us we want ChatGPT to tell us what to do. Like it's all these things we're like
Yeah.
seeking answers outside of ourselves when actually you know everything. So it's kind of a
Yeah.
returning to that and a remembering of how you receive information, how you can interpret it, and just to make that whole process a bit more natural and easy for people, because it is natural and easy. We've just moved away from it.
Yeah. And maybe that thing, because it is natural and easy, um, it's kind of like, oh well, this can't be it then. It's almost like,
Yeah.
I suppose maybe we're conditioned in our learning to kind of have to learn things that sometimes are hard and sit exams to prove that you know something. So
Yeah.
if something's kind of easy, it's almost like, well, that can't quite be true. So we need
Yes.
somebody
Yeah.
else.
And
We look for
our
somebody else to
minds,
help. Yeah.
I mean, our minds like to know stuff.
Hmm.
But our minds can only know a certain amount, and our intuition understands so much more. So if we're only relying on our mind and what it already thinks it knows, that's when we get caught in these old patterns and conditioning. We get stuck, we feel out of place, we feel like we can't move forward. And the mind, if it's fear-based, it shouts really loud. It's really trying to tell you something, usually something that's false. Whereas your intuition's more subtle, it's softer. And, sometimes it requires us to get still and quiet to really pay attention to it,
Yeah.
to see what's happening, to feel what's going on, to get a sense
Yeah.
of what's happening. And for most of us, people are scrolling on their phones, they're distracting themselves, they're filling their space and their time with stuff because they don't want to be still and quiet, because that's uncomfortable for a lot of people.
Hmm.
So we say we want to be intuitive, and then we stop ourselves from really tapping into it and listening to it. So some of this is about changing some of our patterning and habits, and some of it's also just being curious enough to say, okay, I know what my mind knows. Now, what does my intuition tell me?
Hmm.
So that curiosity, I find, is kind of a big key, in kind of changing a lot of that stuff. Yeah, it's really interesting though. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
it's that, like you were saying, just actually coming out and saying, this is what I do, this is who I am. These are my this is my gift to the
Yeah.
world, if you like.
Yeah.
It's only you who can do what you do,
Mhm.
because other people, come at it from different ways, have different language, have different, modalities, have, all sorts of things. And there's a there's a journey, I think, that certainly I've been on, in the last few years in particular, around embracing who we really are and
Mhm.
being able to, like you said, come out. I mean, I talked about coming out the spiritual closet, just that. Yeah, this is where I am. This is what's going on, and only the people. It's interesting because I thought, oh, everybody kind of knows this a little bit about me, but I realised that only the people who really were close to me heard me talk about, like spirituality
Mhm.
in, a broad sense, and what it meant to me, and my conversations with Callum and my soul team, and like the channeling of stuff that goes on, and the curiosity about all sorts of things. But I hadn't really spoken about it in public.
Yeah.
So there was an element of fear,
Of course.
there was an element of worry, there was an element of doubt, there was all sorts of things. So yeah, so understanding ourselves, looking at those, looking at the
Mhm.
wounds and the stuff that we actually, what is it that I need to actually be able to kind of clear, so that it feels then safe
Yeah. Yeah.
to speak about this sort of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's very vulnerable. I mean, it's intimate when you talk about these things,
Yeah.
because your intuition, your nervous system, your perception shapes everything. It shapes how you approach the world, how you see the world, your opinions. It's part of that. The conditioning is a part of that too. Um, yeah, and I know for myself, I've kind of gotten to the point where I've said, I'm kind of done with being afraid. I'm really over. It's boring now. It's just
Yeah.
boring
Yeah.
to be scared of this stuff and to kind of try to bend and fit. Brene Brown talks about
Yeah.
fitting in versus belonging.
Yeah.
And I really just want belonging now. And I am not interested in trying to fit into molds anymore.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I think it's kind of weighing up or examining this thing of, what do I actually want here? Do I want it to be comfortable, or do I want it to really be aligned? And so it takes courage. Courage means you face your fears.
Yeah.
So it does require, healing requires courage, and talking about these things requires courage. But what I found over and over again is that, some people, if it's not their thing, it's not their thing, and that's fine.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
great. But for the people who want to talk about this, or for the people that can kind of go, oh, I get it, or I see some of that in me, or I see how that's applied to me before, people really do want to talk about this stuff.
Yeah.
And we are spiritual beings at heart. We are more than human. We have a connection with the divine, with soul, with creator, source, God, whatever terms you want to use for any of that. We
Yeah.
are more than flesh and blood. And to deny that is create suffering. And so I think when we're all a little more courageous, it encourages other people to be a little more courageous, and they encourage other people to be more courageous. And so the stuff that has felt either taboo or strange, or we just felt we haven't had the language for, then becomes something that you can embody and embrace and share more readily.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I find it's such an interesting time right now because people are talking about these things more. They are talking about their spiritual sides more, and
Yeah.
what they're exploring and what they want to do with it. So
Yeah.
it's a cool time.
And I suppose it's a little bit like you said, a little bit like the kind of Me Too movement, because when you suddenly go, well, actually, this is what's going on, and this is kind of what happens. And yeah, it started with me, sort of hearing voices way before Callum died. People think that my spiritual journey started when my son died, and it didn't.
Yeah.
It was
No.
way before that. My awakening was way before that. Um,
Yeah.
but it certainly helped me then to cope and have a belief and system and framework for me that actually helped me then to think, okay, he's not gone. He's now in what Callum talks about as the big soul soup pot. Right? The big soul soup pot of
I
consciousness,
like
where
that.
we all exist, right? It's like we're all just different flavors in the soup. Um, so yeah, so that kind of journey for me has been an interesting one, certainly, and one that I've certainly embraced more in the last few years, to come out and help people then to be. I suppose I like to look at, and it's why I think I really resonate with what you do, Jennifer, is being able to put some practical aspects to things that sometimes can seem so otherworldly, that we have to all sit and chant for 24 hours a day, never to connect with anything. And, I have to just kind of like walk the earth with kind of flowing robes and feathers in my hair. And, and it's like, if that's your thing, fantastic.
Yeah.
Sometimes you will see me walk about with feathers in my hair, but, it's like, but actually be able to kind of make this sort of tangible and practical so that it's part of our everyday life and not something that has to be separate and like in the closet that we just open the door every now and again and go, okay, you can come out and play for a little while, we'll shut it off. And I think that's one
Yeah.
of the gifts that you have, certainly about making what seems to be, this sort of woo-woo world that's out there, like practical and really helpful for people to kind of tune in. So, yeah. Where
Yeah.
how do you think that how has that kind of like come about for you then? Was that just, has that been something you've just leaned into to develop, or has it been, is it part of your just natural gifts of connection?
I think it's probably been a bit of both. I think doing kind of healing courses and energy work, and that has given me kind of containers to explore, and focuses. That's the main thing. It gave me a focus,
Hmm.
and I think that's why people struggle with their intuition in their everyday, is because they don't know how to focus it. They don't know what to ask, what to apply it to. And it's like anything, if there's not a focus, then you don't really get answers. You don't get clarity. You don't have a way forward. And I think it really is about kind of saying, okay, I want to, and we talk about developing intuitive skills. I don't really think it's about developing them. I think it's about just clearing the stuff out of the way.
Yeah. Hmm.
It's really just kind of letting go of the perceptions of it, because again, we are all intuitive. It's through your practice and through using it that you understand your own intuition. Some people see more, some people hear more, some people feel more, some people just know. really we have the capacity for all of those, but you may find that there's a sense or two that feel more comfortable or easier for you, and that can develop and evolve over time. But it's really just you understanding how it works for you.
Mhm.
Um, and I think that, I mean, what I've gotten to is, I have a regular meditation practice, and that is part of my healing. That's part of my tapping into my own intuition, to seeing what's coming through, what's going on within my own body. It's really about that connection. I use my intuition when I'm making choices. So instead of my mind telling me to go through the 43 different options and research them all and try to figure them all out, I tune into my intuition and say, actually, what's the most aligned thing here? What resonates the most for me? What's going to be the most useful? And what I have learned is that you have to keep asking questions. The quality of the question matters. The better the question, the better the answer. If you ask ambiguous, open-ended questions, you get ambiguous answers. So if you keep
Yeah.
asking and you kind of hone that in, you can get better and better answers. But it is taking that time to kind of sit with it and say, right, what is the answer here? What's the next step forward? What's the clearest path here?
Yeah.
And really allowing yourself to develop some trust in that. And for some people, that is what takes a little bit of time. They need a little bit of, they need to get a feel for it or a sense of it to kind of go, I see how this is different than my mind saying I should do this versus my intuition saying,
Yeah.
here's the option, here's the
Yeah.
best option. Um, yeah, yeah. So I think it's one of those things you play with, you practice with, you hone, and you understand more about yourself, and you get more into that habit of using it more. And then it just feels easier and more natural. It's remembering it is. It's just changing our mind so that our mind can go with it.
Yeah. And like we're saying, how much faster and better for us in terms of time, because that whole, down Google rabbit hole or in
Yes.
or in AI rabbit holes, about kind of like where you can end up,
Mhm.
and then the analysis by paralysis of the kind of like, just I've got all these tabs open and it's like I don't know
Yeah.
which one to choose.
Yeah.
How much more efficient we would be and use far less energy
Mhm.
if we are really like you're saying there, sort of tuning in and going, okay, so what is most aligned for me still to maybe to go and explore more. It doesn't mean that we just go, oh well, it's fine. I just sat there and go, okay, I know it, right? But I'm waiting on it all just suddenly coming in because we do still have that. We've got the human part of us that we're living in a human world, and we still have to kind of move the needle forward in whatever way we want to do
Yes.
that. But that would just save us so much time if we were actually just going, okay, this is what I'm looking for. This is where I'm called to now. Mm.
100%. It saves so much time and energy. It saves you a lot of heartache and grief. It saves you all that trial and error. Um, and again, for me, it really just helps to bring you back into alignment. It helps you really feel yourself and
Mhm.
to know yourself more deeply.
Yeah,
Because if you really get into the core of these are the things I value, these are my virtues, these are my gifts, these are the things that are important for me to express and experience, your intuition knows all of that.
Mhm.
And instead of, even things like, um, I mean, just like something that intuitively I've been looking at lately is, we're going on holiday for a couple days. We're just going a short trip. I tune into my intuition to say, what's a good place for me to go? Not only that I'm going to enjoy the food and I'm going to have fun, but like there's something that I can connect with in the land. Either there's some
Mm.
healing or some wisdom or something with the land, the people, the culture.
Yeah,
So you actually it gives some depth to your choices as well. And you start to understand why you end up making choices in the first place to go places or to connect with somebody, because there's something that's moving you on a deeper level saying this experience is important for you. This experience is something you're going to gain from on
yeah,
a lot of other levels.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, it feels like yeah, again, it brings more depth, more meaning, more alignment to you. You'll have better experiences. When we talk about kind of spiritual awakening, those things happen through following your intuition. If you
Mm.
fight you slow yourself down, you make it hard for yourself, it creates suffering.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I fought hearing that voice for
Yeah.
quite a while. You know,
Yeah.
but I mean that's and I've told the story a couple of times. I mean, when I was first hearing like my name be called,
Yeah.
right?
Cool.
Like on my own, right?
Yeah.
HR manager working in a local authority, and I'd be walking down the corridor and I would hear Kim, and I would turn around to look, and there'd be nobody there. I was like,
Yeah.
I'd be in the car on my own, I would hear Kim, and I'm like, there's nobody here. And it was, and like you said, for at that point, that was like, okay, how do I tell? I mean, how can I even tell somebody I'm hearing voices? They're going to literally, I will be locked up because
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
right, okay, nice little jacket with a wee padded room. Um, and it was only then, and this is the bit that I suppose the connection with what I'm doing now with Big Soul Network. It was only because I happened to then be in the company of my sister, who's always we said there was a spooky witch of the family, and I was I was the grounded, sensible one. So
Hmm.
with her and another friend who who was very psychic and obviously in tune with his own intuition and everything else that was going on. He was picking up stuff. And he was the one who turned and said to me, look, we're chat going on about things, actually in a pub. Um, and some lads had come into the pub saying, oh, you freaked me out because he'd said something to them the week before, and they were all going, how did you know this? Right. And they were all laughing, but a bit, scared as well by what he was. And he looked at me and he went, ah, you don't believe in this sort of stuff. And then he went, ah, wait a minute, who's speaking to you and why are you not answering? And right away, it was like, oh my goodness. And my sister's
Yeah.
looking at me going, what's he talking about? Because I hadn't even said anything to her.
Yeah.
And he was the one who then kind of basically like just went, do you know what? It's okay. Opened the door a little bit, gave me a route of somewhere to go to explore that. For me at that time was Spiritualist Church. He was like, so many things, like the alignment, things happened, people are connected with. But being able to have someone to talk to, someone that you can trust, someone that can actually just help guide you a little bit further, someone who's a
Yeah.
bit further down. We all need people who are a little bit further down that path than we are to say
Sure.
it's okay, it's safe. And that's what you do, certainly with so many, is like, yeah, this is okay, it's safe. Like, I don't have two heads and horns
Yeah.
growing out. It's like, it's all right. We can come and you can still be in tune with all of this,
Mhm.
and not be disconnected
Yeah.
from your physical reality of what's there. But that also might then create change because we're suddenly then awakening to different things.
Yeah.
Um, what do you have a pivotal point for you? And I mean, I can go there. That's exactly what it was. Do you have a sort of pivotal point? Because you said that you've always been aware that you were tuning into things, but is there a point where it went, okay, this is kind of what's happening, and I'm now, oh, all right, okay, not everybody sees this, and not everybody does this. Mm.
Yeah, do you know, I've had a few kind of moments over the years, and I mean, it really the first parts of it were me when I started to realize that my mind was making up justifications for things that I was sensing. I was logicking it away.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And so it would be things like I would be in front of a door and it would look like the door was melting, and I would go, "Oh, my eyes are doing something weird." Like that makes any sense. And then it was later that I realized I was like, oh, I'm seeing energy move. Like I'm actually witnessing the energy moving there. And the same thing, I would kind of hear things and go, oh, it's my imagination. Um, and it was, and yeah, so for me, it was being in courses where we were talking about these things and hearing other people's experiences and going, ah, that's what that is.
Yeah.
That's me witnessing energy move.
Yeah.
And I'm just doing it maybe to a higher degree than some other people are doing. That's what's going on there. Um, and, and I think making it normal in the best sense has been a big thing for me because, as we are saying, it's human. Being intuitive is human.
Mhm.
You're just receiving energy. It's everything's vibration and frequency. Our physical senses are only able to take in a certain frequency, but our intuition is just the continuation of that. And the way I like to look at it is, we're trying to make choices with only like 10% of the information if we're taking things in through our physical senses. And so if you think about watching a movie and you're only getting 10% of the sound, 10% of the picture, 10% of the color, that's a terrible movie. And that's how most of us are living our lives, kind of going, why don't I get it? Why am I having a hard time? Why am I
Mhm.
missing
Mhm.
things?
Mhm.
And so when you realize that actually me tuning into my intuition just means I'm filling in the gaps. It just means I'm getting all the information. I'm getting more so that I can make a better informed decision. I can see the path more clearly. I can take that next step with a little bit more grace, a little bit more trust. Then for me, that really grounds it and normalizes it and goes, oh yeah, like who doesn't want that? Like
Mhm.
obviously we all want that. And so, yeah. So, I mean, what I have realized over the years that's been good for my own awareness is understanding the degree of my intuitiveness and the degree of my sensitivity. And I think I am a bit more extreme than a lot of other people are, which made it harder for me and made me want to shut it down more. So I've really had to look at my relationship with it and what that's brought up for me and why I tried so hard to shut it down and why it was so scary and difficult for me. So I think it really is that when you understand your own personal relationship with it, that will allow it to kind of open up more or be more integratable and
Yeah.
embodied. And then just start to play with it. That's been a big lesson for me. You don't have to take it so seriously. It's not, you're not having to only ask like life and death, I have to figure this out questions. Like, go talk to a tree. That's like my favorite thing to tell. I'm like, go talk to a tree. They're so interesting. Sit with a crystal and feel the energy, get
Yeah.
a sense of what's going on there. When you're in a new city or a new place and you can feel something in the land, see if you can get a sense of the history that's there. Like you might get
Mm.
some information through.
Mhm.
So I think if you can treat the world as your playground, you'll never be bored. You'll understand why you feel certain ways in certain places because you're
Yeah.
picking up on a lot of the layers of history and information that's there. And you can start to more deeply understand your connections with other people and why you either trigger each other or you really bring out the best in each other or what's going on within that.
Mm.
I just find it demystifies so much of the world by allowing yourself to do that. So yeah, I would say just get a sense of what's important for you and what your intuition can help you to understand, even if it's just in the next day or week or whatever it is, and just start asking questions and seeing what comes through.
Mhm.
And let it be interesting and let it be fun and let it be whatever it is. It's not going to be people think it's got to be a certain way. It rarely is
Yeah.
that.
And like you said, there's so many things that some people will resonate with. Some
Yes.
folk love crystals, and we sit there
Yes.
and go, oh, yeah, yeah. I'm looking, I've got a little,
Yes. Same.
I've got a little altar sitting there with lots of things on it, and I've got crystal stuff sitting amongst that. Um, and, other folk just go, crystal's not my thing. It's
Mhm.
just, I mean,
Yeah.
my other thing about connection is that I do meditate a bit, but it's
Mm.
not my kind of like go-to. But I suppose I go into probably a meditative state because I tend to journal
Yeah.
and it's then automatic writing.
Yeah. That's a great
That's the
way to
thing.
do it.
That's my, because I'm just looking and I can see I see my handwriting change.
Yes.
That's the bit as well. It's just like, and I'll look things, I'll read stuff back and I've got piles and piles of journals and I'll read stuff back and go, wow, that was that was awesome. That definitely wasn't me. It's
Yeah.
like, or it wasn't the conscious mind of
Yes.
me trying to figure something out. I was just, I was open that
Mhm.
channel. So it was actually just then, I was tuning in and coming through with here's the stuff
Yeah.
that I can connect with. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
anything that you're doing to put you into a flow state, so that journaling, automatic writing, breath work, meditation, if you go out for a walk, like the rhythm and the breathing and the relaxed focus, that can move you into a flow state. That's why people get great ideas or they get clarity when they're walking, when they're listening to music, when they're cooking, when they're painting. Again, anything that's creative or gets you into that flow is a great way to kind of just get you into a looser state so
yeah,
that you are more connected or that information can come through.
yeah,
So yeah, you don't need to meditate for an hour to do. I mean, you can, but I
yeah.
mean, you don't. It doesn't need to be something that you're pushing yourself into or forcing yourself into. yeah, whatever it is that works for you. So sometimes, yeah, if you're on a walk, then asking, get into spend 10, 15 minutes walking, feel yourself relaxing and getting into a more open state, and then start to ask questions and see what comes through. Like it's a great way to do it. Riding a bike. Yeah, there's like it's just, but whatever you enjoy. For some people it is, it's the painting, it's the drawing,
Hmm.
it's that, again, that creative state is a really intuitive state as well. So
Yeah.
you can play with those things and see what works for you. It's fun.
And I mean, I remember, just, and I mean, we're talking for me, God, probably almost 30 years now, so 25 certainly, of then exploring this. And you would then find, excuse me, you'd then find the teachers who would come along that
Mhm.
you would suddenly be, oh, I'm fascinated with what they are
Yeah.
doing. And you would try something that they were exploring. And so that's the thing about, just the leap from crystals to, I mean, I love a pendulum, I've got numerous,
Yep.
I love a pendulum, just doing different approaches with things, oracle cards and all sorts. And just that journey of, like when you start learning one thing and then you go, oh, there's something else, but
Mhm.
during that it was the, okay, I need something else to confirm that I've got this right now, that would be the all right, okay, I've got an answer, right, okay, I'm now going to, right, okay, I'll read some cards, I'll use a pendulum, I'll do my whole kind of like kinesiology full, but for me it's full body sway. When I know that I need kind of, I think it's this, when I know that I want a, yeah, this is right for me, I'll do a full body thing. And it's like, okay, right, that's all right. Okay, right. I'm tuning in. Yes. And how many things I sometimes need still to kind of go, yeah, when I want to make a decision.
Yeah. The funniest things for me, because I love tarot cards. They're, again, it's just a way to focus your mind or focus the questioning. It's a tool to use for that. It's still your intuition. But my favorite thing is like you pull a card and it's like, oh, I don't want that one. Shuffle, shuffle, shuffle the same
Right,
card
okay.
again. You're like, no, shuffle, shuffle the same card again. I'm like, fine.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
hilarious.
Yeah, and that's I suppose like you said, it's the playfulness and just
Mm-hmm.
being open then to, okay, here's a message, here's something that's coming through. I watched, just a little story aside, I watched a I don't even know who they are, but suddenly I kind of opened Instagram the other day and suddenly I had this mess, and it was all about intuition. And this, there you go, that's intuition, we're going to be having this conversation. And this woman was telling a story that she had heard that someone she had worked with, who had been walking through a big shopping mall. She called it a mall, so I'm presuming possibly in the States
Yeah,
rather than a shopping centre, would we say here.
sure.
And this woman is walking through, and what she was suddenly getting this, she just said, I suddenly heard in my head, do a handstand. And she's going, it's like, I'm losing it. Don't be ridiculous. I'm in a busy shopping centre. There's no, like, do a handstand. No, 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 don't be ridiculous. Walked on a wee bit further. I was looking at a shop. Do a handstand. Do a handstand. And she's like, kept, don't be ridiculous. And she kept just trying to like push out, push out. And then it was like, do a hand. Oh, okay. I'm going to do a handstand. And so this woman then did a handstand in the middle of this shopping mall. And then just kind of thought, look, we're going to be coming and say, what on earth are you doing? Are you some sort of entertainer or something?
Yeah.
This woman ran up to her, burst into tears, and hugged her and
Hmm.
said to her, thank you, you've just saved my life.
Wow.
And she's looking at what she said, I have been going through such a difficult time,
Hmm.
and I really have thought that I don't want to be in this planet anymore. And I've been walking through here, totally disconnected with all this, and just said, if I am supposed to stay, if there's another reason for me to be here, I have a message. It's something totally ridiculous. Have somebody do a handstand.
Amazing.
And I mean, I've got goosebumps, just,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh-huh.
and that sort of thing about here's so suddenly, you were
Mhm.
picking up on something that somebody else was trying to say.
Yeah,
Whatever, however we want to explain the connections that we have, all this, consciousness, kind of messages coming. But
yeah,
she had said if she hadn't, she was feeling this, she was hearing this. She wasn't asking about what should I
yeah,
do when I'm in the shopping centre today. Well, it's like,
yeah,
um, but heard that, did that, and the connection with that other person,
yeah.
you know, huge.
Yeah. Well, I've had things, and this is doesn't compare to that, but the randomness of life where I've crossed over a street not knowing why my body was just leading me across, and then ran into somebody I hadn't seen in years
Yeah.
who neither of us lived in that city.
Yeah.
We would have gone past each other, you know. So I think it is these things of when we really, again, when we allow ourselves to move with it
Yeah.
instead of fight it or dismiss it. And that, again, that requires us building trust in ourselves and building and recognizing that there is truth in it, there's wisdom in it. We may not consciously understand it at the time, but it's moving us in ways that are meant to help us. Like some of the coolest things happen. Like I've had some of the, you know, I worked from a center before COVID where I had a day where I was like, I'm just going to walk where my body leads me today. And I just found myself walking into the center, and the reception came up. She's like, "Can I help you?" I was like, "I don't know. I don't know why I'm here." Then I ended up working from there, and it was a great experience. I met the greatest people. So yeah, so sometimes just saying, you know, intuition, lead me where I'm meant to go. Is there someone I can say hi to, or just be open to these conversations? Then
Yeah.
yeah, it's so fun. And then the synchronicities can happen. Like
Yeah.
people are looking for synchronicities all the time. That's how they happen, is when you open yourself up enough to them. If you're
Yeah.
just sitting in your house scrolling on your phone all day long, not engaging, not talking, not learning anything new, not doing anything creative, it's very hard for that to happen. So
Mhm.
again, it requires us to lift our heads up, to look at the world, to say, right, what am I meant to lean into? What as a human can I engage in
Yeah.
that's going to allow this to come through and connect? Yeah, it's so fun.
And so you believe, I suppose, that we all possess
Yeah,
this ability to
yeah,
to connect. It's I suppose it, if you think back to, like early developments of humans, if we didn't have some, sense of what was happening in some way of connect, because we didn't necessarily have language,
yeah, yeah.
language came afterwards.
Mhm.
So that part of us is obviously part of our ancestral DNA, if you like, that kind of stuff. But like, would you say it's then more of a skill that we can develop? Would you think of it as in that sort of way?
Yeah, that's a good way to think about it. Yeah, I think practicing and playing with it, again, it just makes it more familiar and makes it more of a default.
Hmm.
So that instead of it being a thing that you have to remember to do or try, you just start to feel or receive the answers or see the next, it just
Yeah.
it, for me, it's also kind of expanding your awareness a bit, because sometimes the mind wants to just focus in on this one thing. So it's just saying, let's take a breath and expand out. What else is there? What's the
Yeah.
information I just don't know yet? What are the
Mm.
possibilities and opportunities I just haven't seen yet?
Yeah.
How can I make some space for that? Um, and again, I think it's just the more you play with it, the more you understand how you witness. So for me, because I'm hugely into like music and movies, and I often see things in like Lord of the Rings epic, but not everybody's going to see things as like a Lord of the
Yeah.
Rings kind of
Yeah.
thing. So
Yeah.
that's very specific to me. Um, and certain songs that I will kind of hear playing in my head. Either there's
Mhm.
a message in the lyrics or it's a connection with a memory of
Yeah.
something resonant, so people want to try to say, oh, what does this symbolize or how does it? And I'm like, no, 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 it's specific to you. It
Yeah.
moves through your personality, through your experiences, through, yeah, the way that you can receive and listen. So again, it's great to listen to other people and how they experience it, but not get fixed on how they
Yeah.
experience it. Because
Yeah.
some people are convinced, they're like, oh, I don't see anything, so I don't get anything. And I'm like, but oh my God, you have all this knowing, or you feel all of this, like there's a real
Yeah.
feeling for you.
Yeah.
So not getting caught up in comparison, I think, is a big thing too. So just keep going in with an open mind and saying, I'm here to explore. I'm curious about it. I want to see how fun it can be, how interesting it can be, how easy it can be. And yeah, the lighter you are with it, the easier it becomes. If you get too serious with it, you shut it down. So like, It's really about
Right,
play.
I'm tuning in now and intuition, and I want the answers to this, this, and this, and you're
Yes.
going to show up in this way, at that way,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
like,
And then your whole third eye and your whole body goes, and the
yeah,
universe goes, come on.
yeah, come on, this is yeah, we're trying to teach you flow and kind of like and be loose,
Yeah.
and it's like,
Yeah.
oh no, I want to, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And
um,
as you're saying before, like it's so funny when people are like, I asked for 3 signs. I'm like, what's wrong with one? Like, why are you taxing the universe in this way? Why you got to make it so hard? Just take the one. You got it.
yeah, I know, yeah, I think it's and the more and you see the people who are in tune and more
Mm,
connected, like so like yourself, you're a beacon of light in this regard, but without doing that, this is the prescriptive way that you have to
yeah.
do it, because that's another thing I think that you see a lot in the online space and the teaching space is like, I will teach you my method.
I
It's
think,
like this, and that's
yeah,
it. And if you're gonna go, okay, so you can learn, but it's like, well, it might not be a thing that really resonates with you. So,
yeah. Sorry to interrupt. I think it's great to learn some structures and some practices. I think there's a time and space to learn a methodology or a way, but at some point you gotta leave it behind for what's most aligned for you.
mm,
Ram Dass has talked about, I love him as a teacher. He's incredible, but and I'm going to try to do justice to this teaching. But he talks about at some point you're doing the mantra and you do the mantra and you repeat and it becomes a part of your energy and you feel the rhythm to it. And actually the mantra moves you into a more intuitive state. But at some point you leave the mantra behind and the mantra starts to do you. So you step away from the practice, but the learning, the energy, the flow is still there, and then that's what you allow in. So yes, find some practices, find some structures, some things that help you move into those states, but then also know that you can just be sitting at your desk and be intuitive. You can be talking with your friends and intuition can come in. You can be doing anything and everything and be in that expanded state where you are aware of what's happening around you. You're aware of the information that's there. Um, yeah, and you are at one with that. That kind of oneness is for me is
mhm,
what that's all about.
mhm.
Um, yeah, and I think there's so much superstition and old, outdated teachings around this stuff, and that's really we're breaking that stuff down because it's not true and it's not helpful.
Yeah,
And what it does is it means that you put people on pedestals or that you think that, oh, I have to go through this way to get there.
yeah,
And there's 1,000 different ways to do it. It's finding your way.
yeah,
And you can take bits and pieces from here and there and see what works. But ultimately, it's you saying, okay, no, I, the path is before me.
yeah.
I can follow it. Hmm.
It's a bit like me making a pot of soup. I mean, I might have, there's a recipe over there, but I'm looking and
Yes.
I don't have any of that, right? I'll just fling this in. We'll try a bit of that. Does it, and it's that, isn't it? It's
Exactly.
just that being able to go, okay, yeah, you've got the confidence to know, yeah, that'll go. That kind of goes with that, and it works for me. Right? I like that. That
Yeah.
that suits me, as opposed to no, that's not being willing to go there and try.
Yeah. 100%. I totally agree. I totally agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
you've got a new sort of teaching offering coming up very soon. So tell us a little bit about what you're doing around that.
Yeah. So I developed a 2 day, I don't know what to call it, experience.
Experience.
There is teaching involved, but it's
Yeah.
also there's meditation, there's your own exploration and experiencing of it. And I ran it in November and it was great, had really good feedback from it. And people had a lot of breakthroughs from it. And I said, I just need to, I followed my intuition and said, I need to offer this again.
Yeah.
And the idea, it's called practical intuition. And really, this first kind of 2 day event is meant to help kind of strip away the old superstition, the misunderstandings, and to kind of give your nervous system some space to kind of reset. Because for most of us, our nervous systems are overloaded, they're overwhelmed. there's too much noise, and it's hard to hear your intuition when there's so much going on.
Yeah.
So most of us need some kind of, either healing or awareness around that for ways that you can help it to allow it to regulate in its own way. Um, and then there's some space and time, we look at some of the things that get in the way of intuition. So some of this is like old ancestral experiences. It could be like past lives or collective consciousness, because we're tapped in and tuned into all these different things. And yeah, again, just a lot of it very old, outdated stuff. So we do some healing to kind of resolve those layers and filters that have been put in the way. Because really, that's what it is. We've just put a bunch of filters in place that are not helpful, that are creating some problems. So we're just cleaning all that stuff away. And really, it's about kind of stripping back to you at your core,
Mhm.
and then getting that better understanding of how your intuition works. So we have some practices, some meditations, some things where you get a sense of how you witness, of how you receive. And for me, it's good to do it over the 2 days, because it's not rushed. You've got space to actually let things shift and move and integrate. It's not a pushing or a forcing yourself to be
Yeah.
intuitive. You're not making yourself get information. It's an allowing. It's moving you into a state of allowing. So yeah, so there is kind of this idea, kind of rewiring the mind around all of this, of gaining a deeper and a greater understanding of who you are as an energetic and as an intuitive being. But again, also knowing that you are human, and that it
Yeah.
is very human to be intuitive. We're not forgetting the humanness of it all. And the idea is that you're then able to, after those 2 days, kind of continue to explore, witness what's unfolding for you, play with it some more, have some ideas for that. So I'm going to be teaching this online in a couple weeks, the 7th and 8th of February. And I've set it up so it's noon to 7 p.m. GMT time both days, because I've got people in the States that are joining,
Yeah.
people around Europe. So
Yeah.
it's very cool, actually, to be able to have that mix of people online. That's definitely the benefit of that. And it's not recorded, so you do need to show up live
So,
for
yeah.
it, because it's meant to be experienced live with the collective, with the group, and with that energy. And yeah, really, really excited to share it again. I think it's going to work really well online. The things we're doing kind of translate. And the idea for this is that practical intuition in itself, for people that are, if you're a healer, a coach, if you're an energy worker, a spiritual teacher, or if you're just kind of spiritually curious, you're a modern mystic, you're a human, a leader who wants to lead better, a mother who wants to be a better mother, more in tune. It's one of these things that can apply in lots of different areas. So these 2 days are going to kind of help you to kind of understand what works for you. I am going to offer some more advanced level stuff, I think, at the end of this year, and practical intuition will kind of be the foundation of that, just so we're not
Yeah.
repeating stuff and doing it over again. So,
Yeah.
so there are some kind of future offerings that I think we're working towards. But even if you just feel called to do the 2 days practical intuition, it will make a difference. It will really help to, even if it's just to help you understand yourself more. I mean, really, that's the key to it all, anyway.
So I know we're all constantly doing that's it's a
Yeah.
laugh that we have with several friends around. Okay, yep. So I did this when like it was way back. It was like the kind of whole Savile Holdsworth and the Myers-Briggs assessments
Yeah, yeah,
and all.
yeah.
It's like all of those things. And then we were looking at our astrology charts, and we were
Yeah,
looking at
yeah,
our soul
yeah.
plan, and we're looking at, and actually, okay, so we're just trying to, and if we find the ways through that to kind of tune in and learn a little bit more about ourselves and. Yeah.
I think the two big questions in life, which we are always asking consciously and unconsciously, is who am I really and why am I here? And
Yeah.
everything we choose to do helps us to recognize, yes, that, or no, definitely not that, or that's in the right path. But again, our intuition knows. Our intuition can help us to explore that and to express it more clearly. And instead of, again, having to try out 30 different things, you go, oh, actually, this feels resonant, or I
Yeah.
can really
Yeah.
see myself doing this, or yeah, there's something here that fits and that
Yeah.
clicks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, it takes all the guesswork out, and it takes the trial and error, and especially because people go through people feel like they're failing all the time because they're trying to figure it out. It's like, well, no, you're not failing, you're getting closer, but also, if you're if you're really tuning into yourself, it just makes that pathway more graceful and more easy. It
Yeah.
makes it easier when you know it's time to move on from something. It makes it easier when you know that it's time for things to evolve or for the
Yeah.
dynamics to change.
Yeah.
So instead of kind of clinging on and holding on to what has been, you can say, ah, there's something new in the horizon.
Oh yeah, and yeah, we've been in that. I've been down
Yeah,
that route. So it's the thing. Yeah, okay, I could probably have avoided a couple of burnouts in my life if I
yeah,
had just been more aware at the time that this.
yeah,
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 and
yeah.
not
Oh,
that
we
you
can
know.
all look back and go, oh, if only I'd listened to that little nudge there. Ignore that one pretty good.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, that's the thing. I think I know how wonderful you are as a teacher, having, been around, the work that you've done for a long time, participated and stuff. I mean, I came along last year and did the ancestral one, which was just absolutely brilliant, cleared so much stuff for me. That your your way of working with a group, if anybody doesn't know and you haven't worked with Jennifer, then it is it is so in flow. You are so in flow with whoever is in that group. And one of the things that I love is the way that you can share these big concepts in practical ways. You have a gift of that, of being able just to go, yep, here we are. And you're, right, okay, that makes sense. And also help us to shift things energetically very quickly, because that other thing around people thinking that, oh, if I've suddenly become aware of stuff, it's like, oh God, I'm going to have months and years of working over all these things to get through them. Oh, God. And I know, that you go, no, it doesn't have to, again, it doesn't have to be. We'll just clear stuff, we'll let things go. So I'm sure that everybody who comes along and does this 2-day session with you are going to clear so much once they're aware of it, they've tuned in and things come up, and you actually help just to let that go quickly for people. And that's such a gift that you offer the world. So
Thank you so much. Yeah, no, and it is fun. I mean, that's in terms of, I mean, again, it's everything's for me, everything's through intuition. It helps me to understand what my gifts are. And it is that distilling, because I'm so fascinated by the complexities and the mysteries of life. But then part of me is like, but I want to like get it as a human. So it is. So yeah, that is one of my paths and purposes, I think. And it just makes things so much more fun and interesting because like it's great to know that you can meditate and connect with the cosmos and the mysteries of life, but actually, what if you could like live and work through them as a human and understand them in some really cool human ways? I find that whole dynamic really fascinating. And I think that's kind of what we're meant to do. It's just another lens, another way to explore being as a soul.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so we can make it hard or we can make it really interesting.
Yep,
And I'm
yep.
all for the more fun and interesting.
And not take ourselves so
Oh God, yeah,
seriously.
yeah.
That thing
Mhm.
about, Jennifer is really funny, right? She is.
Thank you, thank you. I'm the funniest person I know, so no.
Exactly. And it's that way when you can actually just go, "Do you know what? This is fine. We're we're not here to have to give ourselves such a hard, serious time,
Yeah,
and to tune into that, laughter is, the best medicine.
yeah.
Or Calpol as a once we careful your audience. I was once teaching a session, a bag of happiness workshop in a school, and we said about, we were talking about going to go about laughter, this group of 8-year-old kids, and I said, so what is it they say is the best medicine? Mrs. McLeod, I know. What is it? Calpol. It's
Oh,
like,
oh no.
yes, absolutely. So
That's funny.
knowing your audience.
That's
Uh,
funny. Yeah,
tune
no,
your
I
audience.
agree though, because I think if it's too serious, you actually slow the energy down. It becomes very fixed and heavy. So I know I've healed stuff when I can laugh about it. Like I
Yeah.
know stuff has shifted when I can look back at myself and go, yeah, I was learning there. Yeah, so I do think it makes a difference. Yeah, there's a time and a place for it. But yeah. Mhm.
Absolutely. So I we are I'm going to share the link, obviously, with the community, and just, hopefully some people here might resonate to kind of come along and tune in. If not for this practical interest, at least to kind of get to know you. And there may
Yeah.
be other things
Yeah,
that are
yeah.
coming, in future that's really helpful for them. Um, and I think you had said that you were going to give a little offer, I think, to
Yeah,
to
yeah.
us
So
as well.
anyone who wants to join the weekend event for Practical Intuition, you can use the code Big Souls, all in capital letters, for the booking, and it's a 10% discount as a thank you. And but yeah, and if if it feels like it's more of a calling to work one to one, or I've also got loads of stuff online that you can kind of watch and listen to that's will be useful and helpful, I hope. So yeah, there's different options to work for me, but if Practical Intuition is calling you, use Big Souls, and that will get you in. Sorry, it's an 11% discount. That's what it was. I was like, we'll make it a divine number. We'll do 11%.
We'll have it. Yep. We'll have an 11 number.
Yes.
That's always a good one to kind of to tune in on. So thank you so much for that. Thank you on
Yeah.
behalf of the community for coming and sharing today with and letting us talk about. I've loved it. I've loved kind of like talking with you around this, and hopefully some may actually kind of come across and maybe kind of tune in and come and be part of your 2 day session, or hopefully maybe kind of see you more inside
Yeah,
the Big Soul Network,
I would love
and
that.
yeah, share
Mhm.
some more interesting conversations, because that's the one thing I think that we have is the space to have the interesting
Yes.
conversations, and the little bits of the reminders of the things that we've forgotten because we suddenly get caught up in other things. So
Yeah.
it's like, okay, yep, are we tuning in? I'll just go and watch Jennifer's thing again. We'll have another conversation about tuning into our intuition.
Well, and these communities, these spaces are so important for that, of these reminders and people that you can connect with who get it and who understand, and that you can talk through the bigger topics, the bigger themes, and not feel like you need to kind of dampen it down or
Yeah,
things like that. So,
yeah,
yeah, so thank you for creating a space like this, because it's important for people to have it.
yeah. That's it. And we'll see where that's like. I'm leaning into
Yeah,
my intuition about what else we're doing this year.
perfect.
So thank you so much, Jennifer. We'll just finish off the recording here, and hopefully people can come and tune in. But thank you so much for giving us your time today.
Oh,
It's just
thank you
been
too. My
awesome.
pleasure.